Welcome to How to Decorate from Ballard Designs, a weekly podcast all about the trials and triumphs of decorating and redecorating your home. I'm Caroline. I'm on the marketing team.
And I'm Taryn, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Liz. I head up the creative team.
We're your hosts. Join the expert team at Ballard Designs for tips, tricks, and tales from interior designers, stylists, and other talents in the design world.
Plus, we'll answer your decorating dilemmas at the end of each episode.
We love answering your questions, so don't forget to email us at podcast@ballarddesigns.net.
Now, on with the show.
Today, we're very excited to welcome one of our favorites, Brian Patrick Flynn. He's an Atlanta interior designer who you may know from his work as the host of HGTV's Dream Home and Urban Oasis. He's known for his vibrant, eclectic style and his ability to transform spaces in approachable and unexpected ways. Today, we're going to talk about the recent house tour you did on our YouTube channel, your experience with HGTV Dream House, how you approach decorating for film and TV, as many tangents, and we're going to end on a little in versus out segment where we're going to talk about some trends and how you feel about them.
Likes and dislikes. I think let's get right into it.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Brian. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a while since you joined us, so we're glad.
Yeah, it's been 6 years. I came and saw you all in a much different studio, and it was just after I finished HGTV Dream Home 2020. HGTV Dream Homes are the year I filmed them the year before their actual year. So that means I saw you in 2019, and I just finished one in Hilton Head. And I remember we had a really awesome podcast taping, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And that was kind of my first foray into being on them. And now I love them. It's like my favorite place to have a conversation, especially when we just go with it. Because it ends up being, and I fully listen. Like I'll see on my Spotify, it'll show up, and I feel like I'm, braggadocious, but I'll listen to a podcast that I was a guest on the plane, and I love it. It's like reliving a conversation, but through a fresh pair of eyes. So I love doing this stuff.
We're happy to have you. It is hard for me to call you Brian. I want to call you Brian Patrick Flynn. It's
Thank you.
It is it's like Julia Louis-Dreyfus or something,
Or Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you can't just call her Sarah.
No. Or Neil
has to
Patrick.
have all three names.
Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, and you're not the first to say that. It's when I first started my career, there was another Brian Flynn. My memory's a little foggy because this was the early 2000s, but I don't remember if it was either in film school or in one of my first jobs as a news producer at NBC. But there was another Brian Flynn, and it was spelled Brian. I remember that's when I added my middle name. It was more because there was other ones out there, and Brian was a common name for kids who grew up in the late 80s and in the 90s. There were plenty of Brians. Now, there's not a lot of little Gen Alpha Brians. But yeah, most people do like to use all three names together. So Hollis doesn't, my spouse doesn't. But it's very common to have a close friend and be sitting there and for her to refer to me as all three of my names. And I'm fine with it because I think it phonetically flows.
It does.
Right?
It sounds good together. Yeah. Well, we have had such a great year together because you and I went to Oxford to film your client's house. It was fabulous. And then you just did an event at our store in Chattahoochee. So that was fun. And so now here we are. So we're just I know you're sick of me too.
No, I on my way in for this taping, I ran into Caroline out in the parking lot because she let me in, and I had asked her if she was sick of me yet because there's been like a good 5-month run now where we've consistently been in touch. And what's really interesting about it is because of my job that I've had for the past 11 years at HGTV as a designer of HGTV Dream Home, and there was a franchise that I was designer of, which was called HGTV Urban Oasis, which is no more. I have spent the majority of my designer life not here in Atlanta. It's been in whatever cities those took me to. Plus, my actual career has always been in production design, so I've always been going to sets to create them for the camera. And now that I'm back here, it's really, really, it's a little bit of a shell shock to see the same faces again and again, people who I haven't seen in 10 years, I've been away for so long. But now as a new dad, I kind of love this. It's so true, all these cliches, once you become a parent, you have to have this consistency. And I get being home now. I'm excited to jump back into the Atlanta interior design market. I mean, I really haven't been around that much. It's been over a decade, but I'm happy to be back. And obviously I'm here to stay now that I have a year and a half old. Yeah. Is that how you say? I'm so new at being a dad. If she's a year and a half old, do I say a year and a half old?
Well, you can be weird and do the months, but it's not weird until over 2.
Yeah.
So I should call her an 18-month-old.
Yeah, you call her 18.
Oh, yeah, that's totally acceptable.
18 month is,
year and a half is also not.
But I wouldn't do 36. I wouldn't say 24 either. Maybe I stopped the months at 18.
Once you get over 20, it starts to be a lot.
Yeah, when people say 32, then there's a lot of math.
I don't like math.
It requires me to do math, which I don't love. Yeah.
That's like showing off at that point. It's like you're a parent or you're a mathematician. Make up your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for having me on your lovely podcast.
Well, welcome back to Atlanta. It sounds like.
And you've always done client projects. I actually, I think we all went to one of your client projects in Ansley Park was on a tour of homes.
Yeah, for
like a
some
couple
type
years
of
ago.
Yeah, it was for it raised money for something for school, I believe.
Was it the no photos one?
I don't remember, but it was absolutely fabulous. And I remember walking in, loving the design. I don't know if I didn't have like the pamphlet or whatever, but I walked in, did the whole tour, and then found your like card or like whatever the
placard.
The thing that was talking about who the designer was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Brian Patrick Flynn did this house. I loved it. I was so unexpected.
I
know. So traditional.
It was so traditional. If you guys aren't aware of it, it was. So I've taken somewhat of a break, not from Atlanta in general, just because when I went through the whole process of trying to become a dad, especially in a 2-dad family, everything was done through science. So egg donor, first of all, after egg donor, surrogate, and then creating embryos. There's a whole thing we went through for 3.5 years to make this dream, which we never thought would be possible, come to life, to be a same-sex couple and have a biological child. It's like absolutely mind-blowing. So I think like I wasn't really rooted here anymore. I was like, it was coming back here, resting, getting all my stuff together, go back to other houses. Where's that going with this? We were just talking about
the house in Ansley, the client house.
So I got the opportunity to do this house for a couple in Ansley, and they had remarkably traditional taste, but they had incredible taste. So I kept thinking, wow, if they're going to push the envelope, like traditional has not been my thing. It is by far the most successful project. I think that even like from a social media metric standpoint, the rooms, people just went bananas for them. And basically the thing that's mind blowing to me about that particular project was 99% of everything that appears in that house was already there. It was just a matter of then bringing in new fabric to pull together the upholstery, new wall covering to pull the floor covering into the upholstery and then into the drapery, and reframing art and then bringing in new accessories. And the client, it was so insane because I was with a husband and wife, and I was like, okay, you want me to infuse color in the house, and I think we're going to do a straight up Kelly green and hot pink guest bedroom. And then there's me. I know as a designer who uses color, then I need to wait for them to say absolutely not, or be like, get the hell out of my house, I'm calling the police. But they did not, and no, there was like no pushback. It was like both husband and wife were on board with everything. And I knew when I first took that job, I'm like, this is going to be a house that I'm really going to be proud of, because I'm not a traditionalist. And the house really was. And everything was really elevated. And they said yes to all the textures I wanted to bring in. And we did it in 2022, which is when we had that big problem with supply chain. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, what am I asking you if you remember that? You work in this is a retail company. It ruined designers' lives, because I remember thinking, okay, I've got my general contractor who's the best, but he only has access to so much wood and so much nails. And then chips were gone, like computer chips. So everything we did had to be done by the beginning of August before the kids went back to school. And remember at the time I was doing an HGTV Dream Home in Red Rocks, Colorado. And here I was there installing, hoping that all the stuff had showed up here and the boxes had stuff in them. I don't know what happened, but I think we had the right people on the job. But I'm very proud of that project. And it had like a 16 or 18 page spread in Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, which I didn't know that was possible. And we didn't get the cover or anything, but I remember looking at it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this new phase of my life, especially being a new dad, perhaps I am becoming a traditionalist. How about you guys? Would you say you're traditional or you're more modern?
I like a little of both.
We're definitely a mix.
Yeah.
We like it both.
Do you mean us individually or us as Ballard?
Individually. As decorators who work in the decorating business.
Yeah. Probably both, actually. Both Ballard and us. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably lean more modern, but yeah.
I feel like your house is very traditional.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's rooted in tradition. Its form. And then your forms you like, I would say, are modern.
Yeah, that's true.
And Caroline likes a clean silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen pictures of Caroline's house. It's
but
perfect. It actually looks. It looks like. Well, I think it looks like your personal style as well.
Yeah,
I can see that house. Taryn, I'd be fascinated to know what yours is. Pattern or no pattern?
Your house is more traditional, and
yes,
I feel like you use a lot of traditional forms, but like you have a very playful palette.
Yes, I feel like I'm closer to being like you. Like I like to pack a punch of color. Like it can't be lame. Or it's boring.
No, that's totally true.
Yeah.
But I think what's really exciting is like we all have Ballard in our house, a lot of Ballard in our house, and it plays to either one.
Yeah.
If you want to go more traditional or if you want to go a little bit modern.
My Atlanta house is a 1965 mid-century modern. And I would say at least 3 or 4 of the rooms have pillows that are from Ballard or accessories that have been bought in the past 12 to 13 years. And they're definitely traditional, but they fit in perfectly in this super modern house.
Yeah.
And that is, especially with a lot of the designer collections you have, like through Miles Red and Suzanne Kastler's another one, right? And Bunny Williams. A lot of those can easily fit in any different type of architecture. But I want to ask something on this podcast that's super controversial.
Okay.
And I did this last week. I was at ADAC and I went to one of my interior designer friends who lives in Jacksonville, and he's another designer that uses a ton of color. And when you go to a talk, afterwards you open it up for questions. I always want to be the icebreaker because I know the audience, people are terrified to be called out. They're there in the audience. They don't want all of a sudden 100 people looking at them for their questions. So I just usually break the ice by asking a question. But I didn't know if I was going to get an answer or not. And the question was, I wanted to know what his most used paint color is. Mine is Sherwin-Williams Extra White. And then after that would be Sherwin-Williams Tricorn Black. And he didn't answer the paint question because he said, I don't have one because every single house I do is so different. I don't have one paint color that's used more than others. And that blew my mind because most designer clients of mine will be like, hey, will you please tell us what whites or blacks to use? But he said his least favorite color was orange. And I've been working with HGTV since 2010. So after 16 years, a lot of my work has always been based on SEO. And so I
need to get into that more in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd
love to.
Yeah.
Like I am basically SEO's, I can't say BITCH, but if I could, that's my job has been SEO for about 16 years.
Well, will you tell people what SEO is just in case they don't know what it is?
Yeah. So anybody that is listening and they're like, what's he talking about? It means search engine optimization. So it's whatever you put into the Google or put it on Google or on a search bar on a website. And what happens is the network, like in HGTV's world, is collecting all that data. And if it turns out there are 100,000 people in like a 10-month span that are saying, how do I use beige in a bathroom? That means they need to have videos or photographs of beige bathrooms to answer what those people want. And so search engine optimization has been something that's been given to me to design off of for the past 16 years. I think that's what's so unique about my job. And it's also why, as a production designer, brands have hired me, because they'll be like, listen, we're pushing this whole line of cranberry paint next year, or we're going to be going into royal tones next year with royal purples and greens and blues. We need rooms that can suggest that are over the top, and some that are reel it in a little bit. But why did I bring up SEO? I was talking about. So back when I'm super tangential. So thank you for keeping my leash on.
This is your medium.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll keep me at bay. I feel like I'm a little dog going to his training crate. But what I was going to say is he had mentioned his least favorite was orange. And back when I first started working with HGTV back in 2010, orange, red, and brown were universally the most hated colors. And one of my favorite things to do as an interior designer is everybody has a thing they do with their clients. I want to know what are absolute no's from the homeowners first. Like, they hate this color, they hate this pattern, they hate this silhouette, this piece of art, I hate it. It's like they might have it, but it might have been passed down. And they're like, I hate that painting, but I have to have it somewhere in the house, and I want you to figure out where it goes. But so Taryn, what would be your least favorite color?
Least favorite color?
Yeah.
Oh man,
do you have one?
Do we have one? That's what I'm really trying to think through. Because I love orange. I feel like it's like I don't know. Aqua probably is my least favorite. Probably.
Caroline, what about you?
Yeah.
Orange.
Wow. So wait, you said orange, you said aqua. Aqua, I'm shocked. I figure most people would actually find that to be a palatable, like, saturated tone. But Liz, what about you?
Beige.
Oh my gosh.
I can't beige.
So I am torn between beige and lime green. So
yeah, lime green's pretty bad too. I don't like lime green. You like lime green?
I can do greens.
Yeah,
like a chartreuse.
Yeah.
But I think,
lime
green is not chartreuse.
No, that's true.
Lime green is people. There's lime green at the bottom of that painting.
Yeah.
But my answer has always been beige.
It's always been beige. Is your
That's lime green?
Okay, like, so chartreuse has more yellow and is a little dirty.
Yeah. Right?
Chartreuse is
that's
dirty.
chartreuse right there.
See, we all agree that's chartreuse.
Okay.
This is like,
that would be
like
more
slime green.
Yes. Because chartreuse has a little bit of acid.
Okay, no
green
slime
in it.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is what's killing me is, so all these years, beige has never been
That's
anything I had
fair.
experience with. But
I like beige in
upholstery?
winter. No, winter wardrobe.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I love camel. Love camel.
That's
I know
fair.
I know it's not
But
beige,
in a home,
But it's not beige.
It's nearby.
It's not beige.
Only linen. Linen I can do, but
Yeah.
you're not going to call a beige wall linen.
See,
But
I
maybe it
like
just needs
beige.
rebranding.
Okay.
I
So-
like beige.
When I first moved to Atlanta, I moved into a townhouse and all the walls were beige throughout the entire place.
Oh,
and I could
Every
not,
apartment,
and
right?
I could not paint
Yeah.
it. And then the carpeting, the wall-to-wall carpeting matched as well. And it was,
Oh.
But that is terrible.
I'm glad to not live there anymore.
But I like beige as a neutral mixed in with color. But I don't like beige as like a monotone.
Right.
So I say that, but I actually just finished my very first, like almost all beige project. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but this particular shade of beige kind of sold me on it. I know.
Okay,
I know.
Go
So
on.
No.
Tell us more.
I think I have learned the difference between the beige that we all know from the 80s and 90s, where the carpet and the walls and the
Mhm.
ceiling,
Builder beige.
the builder beige, and also the furniture that's meant to go into like a corporate rental is all beige. There's it's almost like a dirty looking cream, but then there's khaki, which is which is in the camel world, and it embraces
Right.
itself more. And if you look at the color card, on the color card, there's khakis that can fall more into the almost brown gray world. So I've rebranded beige. And in my world, if I have clients that need that color tone in their house, I'm going to be calling it like the khaki family. And it works for me because this house that I just finished, I just did my first lake house ever. I've never done a lake house. And after sitting there watching the view with this beautiful bold teal go through almost every single room in the house, it is really nice to have that visual rest from your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
letting the neutral frame the beautiful blue and then the blue sky and then the green. So this is my first time doing it. And I felt like such a fish out of water because just like Liz, my answer has always been beige, but luckily lime green didn't play in at all in this house.
I do feel like
first
muddy
beige.
colors look good in the lake house because the setting is muddier and more like woody,
Yeah.
right? Versus like a beach house where everything's more like a clean tones.
I kind
right?
of agree. A house in nature is almost better with less color to me because the nature is where
Yeah.
living in a
Yeah.
city where I'm looking, my views are other houses. I want the inside to be playful because my view is a neighbor's fence or, like,
Uh-huh.
or the garden. But I'm just saying, I think that does because I wouldn't, hey, that's why I don't want beige. I don't know.
Well, and also to me, a beach house, that's where pure whites can come in because you're framing
Yes.
either if you're doing a beach house in 30A, you're going to have the white sand. If you're where I'm from in Fort Lauderdale, it's going to be brown sand, but still people would have white interiors. But I think when you're on a lake, you usually have a ton of trees and wood, whereas on a beach, you just have a horizon line in blue and white or blue and beige. And I think that is why the warmer
Yeah.
tones really
Mhm.
work well inside. But I still can't believe that I just did a house, and I'm super excited to share it on social because
Yeah.
there's a lot of beige. It's not flat at all. It's got a lot of depth.
So how did you work the beige in a way that made you happy?
Yeah, and added the
pleased
depth.
with it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the particular project that I'm talking about is, so for the past 11 years, I've been the designer of the HGTV Dream Home. And this is officially, this is not actually brand new. Nobody knows this yet except for Hollis, but will officially be my last one. It's sad to walk away because I've been really, really proud of this project for the past decade. And when I was brought on back in 2015, I was supposed to do one of them. In the TV world, this is what's referred to as a tent pole. So, for example, like American Idol will be Fox's tent pole. It's like the one thing that they know every year people are excited about, and then you build other programming around it. Well, it had already been around for, I think, close to 20 years when I came on board. And I was asked by my boss at the time, who my bosses have been incredible. In fact, all of them were sitting at my wedding reception because they're all friends for life. I thought I was doing it for 1 year. And then all of a sudden, my wedding reception was 2018, which means this was like 4 years into it. Well, I kept getting renewed and renewed and renewed. And I think the reason being is my job as a production designer has been so different than a straight up residential private client decorator, interior designer, because SEO is such a huge part of my job. So I am hired again and again because I have one department that is wall covering, which would be paint and or wallpaper and maybe any other type of thing, like a mixture that could create the look of like a not faux painting, but like plaster. So I usually wall covering because it's more broad. Then we have home furnishings. Then we have like pavers. Then we have like composite decking. Then we have the appliances, the countertops, the cabinets. there's like dozens and dozens of different categories that fit into something like this. So when I'm hired, I have these massive spreadsheets that show everybody's flighting. And when I say flighting in the world of marketing, there are certain things that need to be out in the world at this time through this type of merchandising.
Like their schedule, marketing schedule.
For the sake of making sure this is out. Like it's almost like a campaign. So I have to check my own ego at the door and know I've got all this data from all these different brands. Like we want these particular 12 colors are going to be used because these are the ones that are going to be really big in 2026. Or these are all the pieces of furniture that you're allowed to have access to because these are the vendors that we will have in stock in a year from now. So it's been a very complicated design process because I really can't have my own opinion. I have to take all these opinions and then create a cohesive design that best showcases all these different things. And now that I just completed my last one, it's bittersweet because I really enjoyed it. It has also kept me in so many other cities, which is, until I became a dad, was incredible. Like I got to and I always get to spend the fall in these places. I got to spend one fall in Washington State, which is flawless. There was not a single day of rain. It was pure sunshine. And the day I got on the plane to leave Washington State was the very beginning of legit fall when it starts to rain. I never got to see that. And then the year after that, I was in Whitefish, Montana, which is one of the most spectacular places in the country. And I happened to be there all throughout fall. So I got there and things were starting to turn yellow. And by the time that I left, the trees were bare. So I had this incredible, like, over a decade run, of which I'm so grateful for. And I'm going to miss it because I love that job so much. There's this Taylor Swift song on the Tortured Poets Department. It's called So Long London. And every time I hear it, I have to listen to it by myself because it makes me sad. Because there's this whole lyric. She talks about like she's going to miss it because she loved this place because she lived in London and left the relationship. But I've been in this relationship with this job for over a decade. I've loved it so much. But the thing that's so cool is this would not have been sustainable now as a new dad. I can't be gone 7 months a year with a little one at home. And
yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody in this conversation is a parent, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is anybody else in this group before parent of a girl?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so two of us have girls. I'm a one and done. So Hollis and I, Clover is she's our only child. I'm turning 50 next year. So I think that I had her when I was 47. One of the things that I learned is like the importance of consistency. And I didn't have it for so many years. And that's what I loved about my professional life is that I got to be in a different city every single year. But that doesn't work anymore when you have somebody who has milestones every week. And I asked about the girl thing now because there's something really, really unique about the father-daughter relationship and the mother-son relationship. And I'm number 3 out of 4 kids, and there's 2 boys and 2 girls. And I think I was always closest with my mom, like and when I was a little boy with my dad for sports and stuff. But there's something about having a little toddler now where I don't want to be gone. Like, right? When they're this age, I just want to be home.
Well, it's like you worked so hard to have them too.
Yes.
And like, so then you're like, and at least in my case, I was like, I wanted this. Like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
So for me to then like escape from it feels a little like I'm missing the best.
A few days, maybe a week.
Oh, no, it does.
There,
no,
I
agree.
No,
after the weekend, I was very happy to send them to school. That's not it. But I meant like to miss the big stuff. You do. You're like, this is why I had them. I wanted to enjoy this. I want to enjoy their happiness. And
I feel like with adults, like, there's so few big milestones once you hit adulthood. You know what I mean? Like,
it's weddings,
babies, maybe like a big job but like they're kind of like there are years between them, right? Whereas kids, like, they're all the time.
Yeah.
Especially babies, and then like their first ballet recital and their first day of school. And like, it just, there's so many miles.
I know.
So it's like there's always something that's like,
they're first.
Yeah, there's always
just so many
first
firsts
on the way, and so it's fun. You don't want to miss any of them.
And that's the one thing I'm so proud of. When I've been asked by people, like, what accomplishments are you the most proud of? And I think waiting till I was older to become a dad, when I already had my career kind of taken care of, and I'd been really smart financially with all my choices, and being with HGTV for so long, there's not been a lot of off months because being the designer on 2 mega franchises was incredible, but it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of people's opinions and a lot of executives who've all been incredible to work with. So I started to realize, like, wait, something's going to change pretty soon. And I think waiting till I was 47 to become a dad allowed me to, I'm much more patient now. If I would have been a dad at 30 or 31, I would have been impatient. I also would have had FOMO for my friends who were out living their 30s. So I got to do my 20s and my 30s and my 40s out there. now, at the end of the day, I love the idea of Friday night being inside watching Miss Rachel and being in bed by 8. And are you familiar?
Yes.
Are you familiar?
The things that you start to talk about when you, oh my gosh, there's so many songs like the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And then, oh my gosh, all these songs that I thought I retired forever at the age of 6 are now back in my life and are on rotation. And Lisa Loeb, this big 1990s pop star who sang that song that was in Reality Bites, she has all of these children's albums and they are freaking incredible. So now I have this, I'm able to like play.
Caroline taking
Yes. And then there's all these things called Rockabye Baby where they take actual classic rock and pop songs and do them specifically on the xylophone. So like every Taylor Swift hit, even if it's not a radio hit, it's like there's a song called August. They have a Rockabye Baby version. So your kid could be in the car and you're singing along to all the words, but the kid is getting to hear all the xylophone. And so the xylophone notes. So there's so many things now that being a parent in the digital age that are good, but like the screen time, that is not, we're not doing that. Like that's hard to fight because the minute you put that, hard, right? Because you know it'll keep them attentive, but at the same time, the dopamine hit's not real, and then they expect it all the time. So it's a dance right now.
Okay, how has your home changed since
I was going to ask
along?
Yeah,
because you're people can find your house. You've done a home-worthy tour. It's been published in all sorts of magazines, so they can find your fabulous mid-century home. Has it changed much since she's joined?
Did you always dream of having a ball pit in your home?
Wow, there's a lot of questions being thrown at me right now. I have to process all this. So the funny thing about when I did the Homeworthy tour, it was Clover's only 5 months old, and it was the one day on my schedule that I had available in Atlanta in between HGTV Dream Home and another project that I was doing at the time. And I was not ready. It's one of the first things that's been out there on the internet that I didn't have enough time to have because in real life, especially when you have kids, rooms are not really styled. You have piles everywhere. Like the house can still be clean, but it's by no means pared back or editorialized enough where you want people to see it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it and just let the house be shot the way it was. And every time I see it, part of me is like, listen, that's real life. And another part of me is like, those side tables look terrible. Like, why is there not fresh floral there? So I watched a little bit of it, and then I was slowly cringing inside. Because it was not the way I wanted it to look. But to answer your question, so I've never really been a true minimalist, but I'm a massive fan of like pure ultra white painted floors because of the way they reflect light. And in my mid-century modern house, the exterior is tricorn black. So is our cabin. Our cabin in LJ, which is an hour and a half north, is also all tricorn black exterior and then all extra white Sherwin-Williams on the walls and the floors. The reason I've always liked the white is mostly because I love how it bounces. The white is because I love how it bounces light. Well, people kept telling me, hey, once you have a kid, that can change. And I would argue and I'd say, no. Before I had white floors, I had glossy black floors. And a lot of people would say, are you kidding, doing pure white floors with a kid? And I'm like, listen, it's actually the glossy black floors that show everything. They become a mirror. And so I always push back on people. I'm like, pure, white is easy to wipe. And I do stand by that. But what's happening is my little inanimate object was learning to crawl. And there's a massive difference between the thud like that onto a hardwood floor and then a thud that's like this onto carpet. Because when you hear the muted fall, there's no cry and there's no running to make sure she's okay. When it was like on wood, even if she wasn't hurt, I was freaking out. So now to answer your question, how's my house look? You no longer know that I have white floors because every single surface on the main floor of our house, we have 2 levels, is covered in that, the 20-inch by 20-inch modular carpet tiles and all different types of colors. And so when you walk into my house now, what has changed is every single room is like Technicolor. Even if the walls are white, there's like a ton of color and pattern on the floor. And the reason I'm so proud of it is watching her freaking development. Like she's walking down the hallway and it's all Roy G. Biv. And she's like yellow, green, blue. And she just knows it. And then she walks into another room and it's blue and white plaid, blue, white, and purple plaid, blue, white, purple. So she's learning as she walks through every room and she looks at the art. Dolly Parton, like she'll see people, she knows things now. And I've realized that the way that I've decorated the house is like super educational. And it wasn't on purpose. It just happened. And now every time my sister's kids want to play, everybody wants to go to Uncle Brian's house because it's like one huge playroom. It's not for everybody, but I also want to raise my daughter there. And yes, I do have a ball pit, Liz. I never thought I'd have a ball pit.
I saw that on your Instagram. I was impressed.
Thank you for being impressed because I was mortified when I put that out there. But the ball pits these days, this is what's happened so much with the younger generations is you can get a ball pit and you don't have to get all primary colors. You can choose the exact palette of balls you want. So I specifically went with different shades of navy, white, and lavender, and it fits in perfectly. And every kid that walks into that damn house, they go right to that ball pit. Guess the one kid who has no interest in the ball pit. Yeah, she's like, yeah, whatever. It's here all the time. Jump in as much as you want. She's in the corner, usually playing with her Taylor Swift dolls. We do have Taylor Swift dolls. It is a very ongoing thing in the house. Like we're like huge. When we get our baby moon was to Tokyo to go to the Eras tour. So like it was an incredible baby moon.
That's amazing.
Especially like at the 14-hour time difference. That was in February 2024. It was a month and a half before she was born.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
year and a half ago.
Time flies, right?
Okay, I heard the most shameful thing about you. You like 5,000 Kelvin light bulbs?
I know.
Explain this. I'm
It's
so
gross.
shocked and appalled.
It's disgusting. I know. I hate myself for it. So I had years ago. One of the things one of the big milestones of my career was in June of 2018. I got my first major cover. And it was House Beautiful, and it was we have a vacation home in Iceland, and it was for the cover. And my main photographer, who I had been working with for so many years, Robert, and I had shot the cover for me. Like we'd shot our own images, and not HGTV. House Beautiful loved the images so much, they're like, we want to run the images that you and Robert shot. And she never told me I got the cover, but she invited me over, the editor, on my way back from Iceland, to stop in New York to come back, because the flights back home, the latest you can do is like 6:00, and by the time you connect, you can't come back. So I spend the night in New York, and we sat down for dinner, and she plopped it in front of me, and I'm like, wait a second. I thought maybe we'd have like a 1 or 2 page spread. I never thought I'd get the cover, and I could not believe it was a full spread. Where I was going with that was the Kelvin thing. So I had just come back from Iceland, which in the winter has a lot of bright white because there's a lot of snow. It's not necessarily super cold, but the snow sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And my obsession with 5,000 pure blue daylight LED Kelvin has to do with my career as a production designer, because when you are in charge of a brand new color collection for a paint sponsor, you have got to make sure that when those TV camera lights come on, it's the exact shade of green or red or brown or beige or white or blue or aqua that they are selling. And the best way to do that is by having the most pure white light as possible on when you're flipping on the practicals. So I've always lived in this world of using bright colors. And then when I started to put on like 3,000 Kelvin in my house and everything started to yellow, I'd be like, hey, I like pure ultra white, but when I put all the lights on, now I've got a cream or beige living room. And it kills me, because people come over, designers, and they're like doing it. Did he really use that thing? Like they'll come over, and then my one client, who I have my own lighting line with Chris Rama too, and a lot of times I use the 5,000 Kelvin bulbs, and she loves. I have this one fixture. It's like my bestseller. It's called the Truax, TRUAX. It's my mother's maiden name, and it's a 30-inch diameter mid-century modern globe, but we traditionalized it by running a band of brass around the middle where the two half domes meet.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it can be shipped in a smaller box. It definitely won't break, because we decided that if we made it out of glass, we'd have like a 90% issue with breakage. And then we found that if we did it in acrylic, they wouldn't break ever. And it became more family friendly. So she was not home when we installed the light fixture. And I got a text from her like a few days after I had left town. And she's like, we have to have a talk about the light fixture. I'm like, oh no. Because it's hard. These are so big, they're hard to install. She was freaking out. She said, she knew that I designed a light fixture. She's like, Brian, it looks like an operating room in here. And I was like, I didn't know what she meant. She's like, it's like this white, it's like this overhead bright white. And it's like, she's like, and I realized, that's right. I'm so used to the 5,000 LED blue sunlight Kelvin that other people see it and they think they're in Walmart. Because it's like that, it's piercing. Yeah. And so it's too much, right? It's almost clinical.
It is.
And so now when people come over, I usually warn them first, because so the answer is, the reason that I use it is because I use a lot of saturated color in my house. And when I do 3,000 or 2,600, 2,800 Kelvin, if I have a blue, the blue looks purple. If I have the green looks brown. If I use the 5,000 daylight Kelvin, the colors read true to their values. And that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. I know it's not for everybody, and I'm sorry.
That is, I mean, I'm like an absolute not. So that's
absolutely not.
Hard no for me.
Same with you, Liz?
Yeah.
Absolutely not?
No, absolutely not. And I actually have a neighbor a couple doors down that has that throughout. And then he also has no shades.
Lighting?
So it just like beams straight into our house too.
Sorry
what his
about
neighbors
that.
are saying about.
Oh, for sure. Yes. And my outdoor lights are all, I have my outdoor lighting collection too, and they're all 5,000 Kelvin.
You know what? They could
So on your black house, you have the blue white light.
Live.
My black house, but it still looks black at night because there's not a lot of the street lights are always out.
If it's black, you could just use the warm.
It would still look black. Yeah.
It'll still look black.
True. It'll still be black. Yeah.
I'll give it to you that you want to have like those, that true color experience.
Yeah.
But like, to your clients, talking point, like it feels like an operating room. If it's all white walls and
she was right. It was that room actually had beige walls, but we're talking about a 30-inch diameter light fixture, which is big.
The
output is like Oppenheimer. Like it is by no means like it's by no means subtle. But that is one of the most controversial things that I've done, and I stick by it. So I have not changed those. I've been in that house for 10 years, and they have stayed 5,000.
We've given a lot of advice on lighting about and color. But we've never said, if you use 5,000 and you use this color, we tell you to, maybe it will be the same.
I mean,
because we're always like, don't.
Your reasoning
makes
sense. I just am shocked because we've had so many people on the show and they're pretty much on the other end of the spectrum from you.
And the thing is, I can't argue with them because they are technically correct. We're all decorators in this room. Like they are correct. Yeah. The warmth is good. But I don't like, if my house was mostly muddy colors, I'd be fine with it because it wouldn't affect anything. But for example, our family room is blush and it looks blush at 9 o'clock at night. It looks blush at 10 o'clock at night. If I had 3,000, it would look beige. Mm-hmm. So, but I do not. For those at home listening, I do not recommend doing what I do in my own house. It's for my own obsessive ways. Yeah. You should go with warm light. Just don't listen to me.
Well, it's funny because the house that you did in Oxford that we featured on our house tour series, it had some very warm tones in it, like a lot of warmth, a lot of beige, actually.
Yeah.
In that one particular room, and like lots of green with yellow undertones. You had some mauve. So I'm trying to think. Did you put what color bulb did you put in that house?
Oh, you're going to kill me. So it's 5,000.
In there too?
So the reason being is my client is so lovely. She went with it. So let me tell you, here's some reasoning behind this. She may have been very nice to me. She may have changed it since I've left. But so this house that I did in Oxford, I don't have much experience there except for, we call them our outlaws. So my sister married into a family who is very much big and like they have a very rooted history there in Oxford. And so, I call her my cousin, but she's actually my sister's cousin, like in law. But we get along incredibly. We have like very similar tastes. We're big movie people and music people. And when she had this house, I'm like, I have to put my stamp on it because it was this really cool. It is this really cool, probably 70s or 80s cottage, which could go any direction you want because it's not rooted in any actual classicism that would have any type of vernacular input. It's like, hey, you can do what you want here. And I was going through all the different partners that I could work with to bring this house to life because there's a limited budget there. And also it's not the easiest place to get to because it's either a 5-hour drive or you have to fly into Memphis and then drive an hour. So I was going back and forth. Who could I actually pull off doing a full house in Oxford with? And when Ballard came to mind, it was like, okay, we're going to do like a fresh take on traditional. We're going to do things that are kind of a total 50-50 in the middle between feminine and masculine. And also we wanted to have like a really early 80s influence. And when I say early 80s, I was born in 76. So a lot of my memories of the early 80s would be the really high-waisted pants, the gigantic glasses, the really flowy women's hair, the men with the really long, not long mullet hair, but just long hair. And it was like super duper like business masculine. Like men would have the tweed suits and they'd have the big glasses and the weird mustache, the porn mustache and stuff. And when we were talking about like things that I wanted to do in that house, I was like, it has this one room that kind of looks like one of those 70s or 80s sunken living rooms. Do you know what those are?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like 2 steps down and they're super impractical, but they're gorgeous and sexy as hell. We were like, I said, why don't we actually bring this back to like 1982, 1983 and do it in all different shades of beige? I offered up beige, but I'm like, let's do it in a way where it looks like the beige that was a huge staple in like 1982, 1983. So we did. I already had these modular sofas that were a very, very deep shade of taupe. And then we just built on that. And then when we decided to do the project together, you all have this really big, like almost 36-inch diameter, somewhat golden orb that looked like
Paloma chandelier.
Yes, it's traditional, but it has the scale and the opulence of something from Studio 54. And Studio 54 died in the early 80s. And I was like, okay, all these things were coming into mind. And I remember when I got in touch with you and Karen, I think when I was like, hey, this is going to be a super 80s inspired house. And I don't think most people think of Ballard Designs and think of, 1982, at all. But now that you've been there, you've spent time in that house with me. Wouldn't you say that there's like a very fresh, even the kitchen, because the kitchen, I decided to let the palette in the kitchen be dictated by the colors of kitchen appliances back in the late 70s, early 80s, which would have been harvest gold and avocado green. So we did, I don't remember what color the cabinets are. They green or yellow?
Green.
They're avocado
the
green, right?
backsplash was yellow.
Thank you.
And the floor. And you did the floor tile.
Yes, we did. We actually did a carpeted kitchen. It's the modular floor tiles. So it made sense because there's a 6-year-old who lives in the house. But the reason I'm really proud of that house, especially working on with y'all, is I love to take things that don't go together and try to make them fit organically without looking forced. Do you, after you've spent a day and a half in the house with me, do you see like an ongoing, not theme or motif, but a thread that's woven through almost all those rooms that does look slightly feminine early 80s and masculine early 80s?
Oh, it's fabulous. I've loved every single room. It definitely has a retro vibe, but not in like an obvious or like a way it feels natural.
Performative.
Yeah. Like it feels natural.
It's kind of understated, right?
It's like if you were to see someone in like a fabulous sort of 70s inspired outfit where you're like, oh.
That's perfect. Yeah. That is the best way to explain this house, because especially the dining room, we also have a lot of natural lights. We added skylights. We did one that's 4 foot by 4 foot, a very big skylight in the dining room, because the dining room was really shaded. But we went with the burlwood table from you guys. And then we also...
Jax, yeah.
What is it? It's called the Ajax?
Jax.
Right?
Jax, yeah.
J-A-X, right? And then that beautiful, feminine, almost scalloped chair.
Oh, Parks.
Boom.
Is that what it's called?
This is a good quiz for us.
I know.
Yeah. And also I decided to do COM with that because the silhouette is so incredible. You can drastically change the style of that chair depending on the fabric.
Right.
So in my case, I really wanted a solid. And I don't remember if I decided to go mustard or I went with avocado. But
dark green?
It's a
right?
green.
It might be velvet. It might actually be a little bit more in the emerald world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that mixed with the table, totally unique. And then the coffee tables that I did in the sunken living room are definitely in the traditional world. Oh, and also there's the bar drinking. There's a table that's meant for like drinking and board games in the sunken lounge. And that is a walnut table with brass sabots at the bottom. And then it's the slip-covered chairs that are barrel chairs. And then I have one of your skirted tables, which is right underneath one of the skylights that's just packed with like plants that are thriving. And I'm really happy because I'd never used beige. Like I told you, I just did the lake house. I'd never really gone back to the early 80s. And I feel like that house was a really interesting juxtaposition of retro and new.
It fits her, having met your client and cousin-in-law, what'd you say? Yeah, cousin-in-law. It fits her...
Cousin outlaw.
Outlaw.
The whole thing. I'll figure it out.
It fits her, personal style.
Definitely.
And what I met of her personality, she's cool. She has very cool style. And so, for someone else, maybe it would feel...
ill-fitting?
Yeah, but for her, I was like, oh, this makes
it fits her style.
She's cool. Yeah.
And there's always vinyl albums playing. So it really, really fits the style big time. And it's Oxford, Mississippi, which is very traditional. I mean, it's a straight up South, but it is I think it's a liberal arts college. So you end up having a lot of culture there because the young people really make it their own. And I'm really, really proud of that project because I had never seen myself doing something in Mississippi, especially because I'm away all the time. I'm usually not in small Southern towns. So it was, after doing these bigger city ones, I had no idea that there were so many people that lived there. And
you between that and the Atlanta house we were talking about earlier, you really should do more. I feel like traditional pieces.
I think it might be that I'm turning 50 next year. I think that might be it. I think I'm starting to understand how people's taste evolves as they get older. I will always be a mid-century modernist at heart, but I'm beginning to understand why people stick with traditional style silhouettes because they never go out of style and you can pass them down over years. And if you don't want it to be stuffy or boring or cliche, you throw in your own thing. And I think putting more traditional style furniture into my mid-century modern house, I think what makes it designer.
Yeah, there were some pieces that you used in that house in Oxford that, like the sofa with the pleated skirt, or the dining table, the round dining table that you used with the skirted chairs. are more traditional, but they kind of ground everything else to be more playful.
Yeah.
I also thought it made it less one note.
Yeah.
Because if you had something that's supposed to go kind of retro 70s, early 80s, then you add something super traditional. Think about it, a lot of the sets, I take a lot of my inspiration from Three's Company. And Three's Company, the set of that was super beige. It had this huge, like, iconic butterfly that from Life magazine. It was this frame thing that said Life, and it's a butterfly. And everything was wicker, and there's a lot of plants. And that style brings me back to sitting on the floor, 1982, 83, 84 as a little boy. You watch TV when it was live. There was like 4 channels. If I wanted to watch TV, it was what my parents were watching. And I'm looking back to those houses that always were modern at the time, but they had traditional furniture. And I think that's what made it, what makes a set feel more like a true home. If everything is the same style, I kind of feel like you're selling a set of furniture versus, creating a living set that's supposed to feel like a real home.
Yeah.
And it loses it just feels like a stamped part of time.
Yeah. It doesn't age well.
Right.
Yeah. Like if you have different things from each sort of era, you can't exactly like denote what era it was decorated. You know what I'm saying? Like if you've got like traditional and modern pieces.
And why we're all into it, because you can take something you got from your grandmother and you can go buy something new to mix with it. And you've got, again, this very livable space that continues to grow.
Have you all seen, so speaking of spaces, so what's really different about my world from most people is the production side. So I'm always designing things that actually I know will read well under different types of lighting, things that will tell a story of the person who lives there. And in the case of HGTV, something that will have mass appeal for all different types of taste levels. But in my career now, like 20 to 25 years, there are like 2 massive sets. One of them has been a directive that I've used for my career at HGTV, and it's this remarkably popular set from Nancy Meyers. So any Nancy Meyers film is going to have a huge cult following of people who love decorating. And it is called Something's Gotta Give. It's with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton. And it is like one of the most beloved sets in modern cinema. And it is so simple. And I think it is because it's a mix of all these traditional things, and it is super unfancy. It looks like somebody lives there. The character that Erica Berry, who's an author played by Diane Keaton, is this remarkably intellectual New Yorker, I think. And you look at the furniture like, oh, this is like a smart and classy person who's well educated, like lives here, and like it's a comfortable place where you can run around without your shoes on. You can have a glass of wine. So one of them from my career has been with the people who love the set of Something's Gotta Give want to live here. And that's how a lot of times I've designed HGTV Dream Homes, and it's worked because I thought I was doing one and I did 11 of them. And then which the proof, the metrics right there might be pretty strong in my favor. But the other thing is, there was a movie that came out like in 2010, and it's this incredible film. Do you know that the fashion designer Tom Ford? He directed a movie, and it's called I think it's called A Simple Man, A Single Man. It's starring Colin Firth and Julianne
Moore.
Julianne Moore, she plays a character named Charlie, and it is another one of the most beloved sets because it straight up is a Ballard design home set in the 60s. You guys don't even know this probably, but it is so straight up Ballard silhouettes throughout the entire house. It's in Hollywood. It's like a beautiful Hollywood Hills house. It's super feminine. She's a single woman. They're like best friends. And I believe she has a British accent. Every room is totally badass rock and roll. But what's mind blowing is it's not. It's like, it's straight up traditional. There's a lot of blush, a lot of neutrals, but the way the rooms are put together, every like woman and man was like, I want to live there. Like that house is badass. It's rock and roll, but it's traditional. And I think there is something about when you mix the traditional with something unexpected, whether it's a piece of art or it's a light fixture that's a little bit more 70s or a little bit more sculpture or even mid-century or Scandinavian. I think that is what captures, I think, the millennial and possibly the Gen S audience. As far as Gen Alpha and Gen Z, I have no idea what the hell they like. Do you? What is Gen Z like for interiors? What do they like?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of the grand millennial thing, and which I guess maybe you could argue is millennial, but I feel like it also skews younger than that. But then also the Nancy Meyers thing. Yeah, I feel like that's still
relevant, right?
Yeah. But maybe that's just my algorithm. Well, speaking of Nancy Meyers, I rewatched with my husband was out of town, so I watched The Parent Trap, the Nancy Meyers Parent Trap, with my girls this weekend. And those houses, I was honestly thinking about it the whole movie. Those houses
Which
also
one is that?
are
The Lindsay Lohan one.
The Lindsay Lohan one. There's the Napa house, and then Natasha Richardson's London townhouse. Both of those are gorgeous.
That's a fun one to watch after you have kids. So I watched that like last year and I was like, oh, really? You just like had these two twins? We're like, you know what? You take that one. I'm never going to see that daughter again.
I've never seen it. I know.
Oh my
so
gosh.
on your to-do is watch it as a parent now and be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then they're both very wealthy, independently wealthy. She's this designer and he owns this vineyard and you're like, oh, and you both were wealthy?
They both have full-time help. Yeah. I know. But watch.
I pulled it apart.
The set, Taryn.
Okay, sorry. But the set was fantastic.
But both of the homes are like,
oh, yeah.
I would move in right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm excited about this because I have a friend who I think actually is in that, like an actress friend who's in that movie. Yeah. But there's another movie. So as far as I understand, so Nancy Meyers did, this is The Parent Trap, right? Yeah. Which is not the same as Freaky Friday. That's not Nancy Meyers.
Totally different.
I've not seen, so I was planning to last week going to see Freakier Friday on my own. And before I was going to watch Freaky Friday first because I haven't seen it. But The Parent Trap is the other one I hadn't seen yet. But listening to you guys talk about it, might be a good thing to watch with Clever when she's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right? It's like fun.
Oh, it is a fun one. It's a cute,
That's with
especially
twins.
for girls. Oh,
it's twins, right?
Yeah,
and they trick
it's
their
very
parents?
Yeah, it's cute. You can watch it in a few years, but
But she does always have great sets. It's they're like a mix of like approachable and familiar. You know what I mean?
Definitely, and they're not. But there's something that's highbrow about them. That is, in a way where it's not like done for show. You know, it's not like dropping like a Birkin into a room to prove your status.
Yeah,
you know.
But isn't that funny? Design. Like that set, the Something's Gotta Give set, is and has been like the pinnacle for like 15 years.
Nuts, right?
Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. 2003 movie. I was still in college when that came out.
20 years, 22 years.
Yeah, almost 25 years. And I remember it's still, and it's all different generations that love that set. And then the other one is there's another movie that came out a few years later by Nancy Meyers called It's Complicated with Alec Baldwin and Meryl Streep. It's funny because those two movies were shot in the opposite places in which they portray. So I believe in Something's Gotta Give, I think she's supposed to be living in the Hamptons, but that house is actually shot in Santa Barbara. And then conversely, I think that they actually shot in the Hamptons for Meryl Streep's house, which is supposed to be in Santa Barbara, which is interesting. Because I mean, that's why I love production design, because it is nuts. I don't know how we're pulling this stuff off, but with the right camera angles and the proper establishing shots, you could fake anything.
Would you ever go into like set design for a feature film?
I don't think so anymore, because now that I'm a dad and I have a little one, the super long days that I loved and was so enthralled by it, to me, I the idea of missing a milestone in a former life, I absolutely keep going to film production, but it's a remarkably hard, it's a very hostile environment, because those are long days with 300, 400 people on set. The insurance is through the roof. Everybody's super stressed out. And now I've had this incredible 16-year run with HGTV, which has been incredible. And I'm walking away with so many good memories. And I don't know how I got so lucky in a previous life, because most people after 16 years at a place would just be like, I never want to see you people again. This has been the worst. But I've had a really good run, and I've made some really good friends along the way. And it has been so collaborative. And I think one of the reasons being is you have to have really thick skin when you're designing something that's going to be seen by tens of millions of people who are going to scrutinize everything. Mm-hmm. So what I've always done is once we go live in December every year with HGTV Dream Home, I try to uninstall Instagram until maybe Christmas or so. Or I have two phones. I have a regular phone and a content phone that's specifically used to capture content with cinematic, because I love the cinematic feature on video. And I never post social media in real time. I never want it to affect my actual socialization. So if we were hanging out together, all of us for drinks, I might take out my content phone before I'm going to go to the bathroom and find a really cool establishing shot of us all having drinks when you don't know I'm watching you, and get some beautiful black and white of you guys sharing drinks. And then I have something later that I could put into a reel or post. It just seems real. It seems more documentarian style. Mm-hmm. So I think I got really lucky where I got to do what I went to school for and work as a production designer, but more on the interior design relatable level. I would say my least favorite part of my job was people's opinion.
Yeah.
I believe you can please some people all the time, or all the people. That's the same.
Some of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it made my life easier, because I was like, okay, there's no way you're going to have 100%. There's no way.
Unless you're Nancy Meyers, apparently.
Unless you're Nancy Meyers, then you got to get a
or
a hall
set
pass.
designer, I suppose. Whoever that is. Why have they not come forward?
I don't know. I want to know.
Okay, sorry. What? Dang it. Stop it. Wait. So, what are some things that you might design for a set that would surprise people, or like ways, like things about a set that maybe would surprise people?
In true film, so if I was doing an actual commercial, like not HGTV Dream, not HGTV Dream Home, because HGTV Dream Home is so specific because somebody actually wins it. So every single thing that's in the house is photographed exactly as it's going to be, and every single thing that's in the house is part of the prize package, so nothing can be moved or changed. But when you were shooting a commercial and you have a scene that involves, say, a character or multiple people or actors and a pet, you usually, I know this sounds really insane, sometimes you will have different modifications of the same piece of furniture, which means in a wide shot, if you've got two people sitting having a conversation on a 3-seater sofa, it might be the actual size you would have in real life. It might be, say, a 96-inch to 110-inch sofa. But when you change to a tighter shot and you have a new focal length on your lens, those people might appear way too far apart in a closer shot sitting on the sofa in the same, because you have to have continuity. So they might be, in real life, the gap that you have between you is great. But when it's time to do the close-up, there's sometimes a set dresser with two other versions of that sofa, much smaller. So you guys get up, the other one comes in, the next closer up shot comes in, and you seem less far apart from one another. So this is stuff nobody would. I could talk about this for hours because this is my job. And so you have to have back, because the worst thing about working as a production designer is when the camera rolls, everything has got to be there. There's no resetting. Everything has to be in place because every minute is thousands of dollars. So you have to have a backup plan for every backup plan. And you have to have a bunch of extra fabric for anything that's on set. Like Hollis works in wardrobe. He probably has to have 10 of the same jacket or 10 of the same shoe, because if something is needed for a scene and it has a little bit of a mark on it, you're holding up camera. You cannot hold up camera. So my job is to make sure the cameras are always rolling and everything that's on that set has got to be correct for that particular scene. So
you might have several different versions of the same couch.
It's very likely. And also, same with possible dining tables. And it's more about the scale. So it has to do with how are these people going to fit on this? Or you might do one that's extra deep if it's a scene where there's intimacy. So if there's a scene and there's intimacy and people are not necessarily upright having a conversation, they're moving around, it has to be wide enough to hold their bodies. Otherwise, you're doing choreography with these actors who are now having an arm over the side of a sofa that would make no sense. This is so nerdy, but I love talking about this stuff.
No, it's interesting. So what if it's a fixed set, like the Friends set, or a set where you're always shooting in the same space? They have different versions of that same sofa everyone sits on off.
I think
wings.
I think that back in the 90s, so that came out in 93.
Like a sitcom, yeah.
Yeah, so when I believe that in a traditional sitcom art department, you would probably have these gigantic rows behind the scenes that nobody would see of extras. Because if all of a sudden an actor accidentally knocks over that Tiffany lamp, there's continuity. You can't go to the next scene if that lamp is broken. It has to become part of the plot line if it's broken. So usually there are multiples of almost everything on that set. But a lot of times if it's an antique, you can't. There's only one, and that way it's documented like crazy. There are Polaroids on Polaroids of that thing from every angle, exactly where it should be placed on the table. There's this movie in the 90s called Misery with Kathy Bates. She won the Oscar for it, and it had to do with, there was a little tiny penguin figure, and she knew that the author, played by James Caan, who she was torturing, she knew that he got up and tried to escape because she was a perfectionist, and she knew that the penguin's beak was supposed to be facing west, but it was facing north or something. But that's your job. And there's a job called continuity. And your job is 100% to have these huge folders where it's just Polaroid after Polaroid of, okay, this is this way, counterclockwise. That page of that magazine is open on that table for this scene, but on that scene, it's closed. That's somebody's job.
I would be terrible at that.
It's also terrifying. God. You get it wrong, then you have to redo the scene, and that costs thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Friends definitely had to have multiples of those things, because those were very specific.
But do people really notice?
No, apparently we don't. We don't notice.
People in production would notice. Directors notice that there's a keen eye.
Yeah, someone's going to.
But everyday people
would never
notice.
No.
Everyday people would. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't. And also, it's the amount of precision that goes into making a set feel like a real home, even just with stains in certain places, or even in the TV show Roseanne, they had this knitted, a very classic knitted
Afghan
on the
throw
on
the
browns,
sofa.
yellows, and reds or something.
And it's familiar.
I can picture it without even
right. And it's a character because just similar to the Victorian frame that's on the peephole of
God, yes.
Yeah.
Right? Those little things are like, that's a character. You had no idea you were watching 10 seasons of a show where that is a character. It's like you recognize it. Actually, the first season of Friends, one of the most fascinating things about it is the original set designer had this post because it was a loft. And if you ever watch season 1, there's like 10 episodes where you're like, where did that beam come from? There's a beam right in the middle of where people are usually standing, and it's gone forever from the other seasons. But they realized that beam, when you open the front door, it was causing weird shadows to happen in production. And also, it was a place where the characters would gather, and from different angles of cameras, you had a beam in the way of Joey. So if you look, you can even Google it. You'll see there's a famous beam in production. We all know about it. We know all about it. And also,
the beam.
Yeah, and then Lucy and Ricky Lucy and Ricky Wall.
Yeah.
But no, there's Lucy and Ricky. His real name was Desi Arnaz in real life.
Yeah.
They created the 2 camera format for sitcoms. They were like the masterminds behind the whole technical art of creating a sitcom. I love this stuff.
I
know
that.
There's a whole movie about it. It's called Meeting the Ricardos or Being the Ricardos. It's from Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. Yeah.
Oh.
But you know what? Just like regular, like just everyday good design, that thoughtfulness is the reason why we don't notice it.
That's true.
Right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because good design just plays a really fantastic backdrop.
Yeah, and effortlessness comes with experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like when I was brand new and starting out, I used a lot of color and a lot of pattern that was over the top at the time. It still is now. But I felt like I had something to prove back then. And now the new beige version of 49-year-old me kind of get it. Like there's certain things that just are going to stand the test of time. And 30-year-old me had a lot more to say. And I'm still proud of that work that I did as a self-taught designer back in the early 2010s. But a lot of those things I would never do today. I also had limited knowledge, limited access to materials, and limited access to artisans back then. Now I can have everything made, similar like you all do. You know, the people to make things and upholster things and all that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before that a lot of your design choices for the dream home were driven by SEO and were like things that the teams kind of suggested, like this would be something people are interested in. Like, can you work that in? Was there anything that you were ever like, I hate this. I do not want to use this, but like I must.
It's converse. It's the other way around. So when I did, one of the first houses that I did was in Asheville. And the idea was to do something that was like a modern take on folk, because it was West Asheville. Almost every neighbor around the house had their own chickens. So it was a very farm to table area, and people were very into folk art. And I always wanted to make the houses fit the vernacular. So most of the styling for the rooms was done. I went to these, not flea markets, but they were, what's the other word? An antique mall. Mm-hmm. And there's a famous one, and I forgot what it's called. It's like it's some type of man's name.
It's like a giant red barn.
It's a giant red barn. It's amazing. Oh, it's incredible. And it's famous. And I went there, and I accessorized the majority of the house with worn, somewhat farm-inspired things. That they were by no means fancy. They just felt like down home, old school. When I got the data back from the marketing department, they're like, hey, so we have these pages. People did not like all the accessories. They thought there was too many things. And I always listen to the data because it doesn't lie. So I couldn't really get upset about it. So to answer your question, I had to take that narrative and realize, wow, people want more minimal styling. Mm-hmm. So then it became more about like a stack of books and fresh floral, and that kind of rated through the roof. So that would be, it's kind of the converse of what you asked. But I would say if there's anything that was given to me that I hated, that I had, not on HGTV Dream Home, but I used to work on, when I was younger in my 20s, I used to work on a makeover show. Because I went to film school, and then I became a news producer. And while I was working in news production, I got laid off right around 9/11 and into like actual 9/11 because people were just not working. And I got lucky, and I started working for the production company that was about to start shooting season 2 of Trading Spaces. And they needed a producer who understood interior design. I happened to knock on the door because I was looking for work, and I was going to move back in with my parents at 26. So I'm like, I'm not going to do a cubicle farm job. I've got to work either in news or like truly working in this interior design world. It's because the only thing that I love. My parents were like, fine. So I moved back in with them as a grown-ass adult. And it turns out the production company I went to, they're like, listen, so we were already staffed up, but we had this new show, this Discovery Channel show that became the rival of Trading Spaces. It was called Surprised by Design. And they hired me because they saw that I knew how to strip and refinish furniture. And I also could write a script and direct a scene. So that got me my job working for the Discovery Channel. And then what's really interesting is the Discovery Channel, Discovery merged with HGTV back in 2017. So I have legitimately worked at Discovery Channel my entire career, if I think about it. But I had a little bit of a break where I worked here at Turner Studios for TBS, and there was a makeover show called Dinner and a Movie that had a spin-off sister show called Movie and a Makeover. And I started as a producer on that because I had the experience working on these makeover shows. So I was a director behind the scenes for anything that had to do with home transformation. And my job would be to make sure that we made a schedule and we had all the right artisans to do the work. There was this one sponsored episode where it was sponsored by a retailer that I don't think this retailer is even around anymore, but they had a very specific zebra print and coral and terracotta and pink and aqua coverlet set that they were pushing for like back to school or something.
Oh,
and I had to design the entire room around this absolutely hideous thing. And it was my job. My job was to make this thing look good. And I don't know how I did it. I did the whole room. I did like this monochromatic thing where it was just blush on blush on blush on blush. And I tried to minimize all the zebra and stuff. And I remember being so mad at my executive producer, who's still like a lifelong friend or family to me. And she was like, listen, the sponsors are who are paying for this. So this is the piece they're paying for. So design a room around. That was back, I think, 2008. And surprisingly enough, there are no professional portfolio images of that room in my...
Oh, no.
Do you have it photos anywhere?
I absolutely do, and they'll be burned very soon. What an idiot I was. I was so new back then. I kept photographing my houses at night. You don't shoot interiors at night. You use all natural daylight with everything on a long exposure. But I learned so much about photography from those mistakes that I made. But the client or the brand was really happy, and the homeowner loved it because her daughter. It was beautiful. Otherwise, everything else in that room was custom. But yeah, that one time I had to use that I had to reverse design something around the most hideous coverlet in history, and none of it was natural materials. I mean, it was probably flammable at the time.
That's amazing. That was a good one.
Okay, last thing before we go, we talked off camera about doing an in versus out little segment. So let's wrap up with that. I know you have opinions. That's why we want to ask you.
I have a very controversial one that's going to piss a lot of people off. So you can't get mad at me. And I'm doing fine print here. Okay. We're going to start it with this. I love when things are popular because I love pop culture, and I love when something becomes a huge part of like the narrative socially, and like it timestamps something. Like, that, like, for example, like the sets of TV shows we're talking about right now, or a very popular look. I don't know if you remember, like there was this very popular thing in the late 90s where girls had a necklace that had bubbles on it. Like did you have that? It was a trend. It was a little thing with an actual bubble, and it had a little bubbles maker, and you could unscrew it and blow bubbles. And
was just going to raves?
No, I think this was like
rave jewelry.
No,
Children.
This was popular because it's the opposite. It was popular because of a 90s sitcom called Blossom. You remember Blossom?
Oh, yeah.
She made it popular. She had a big hat with a sunflower.
Oh, yeah.
The sunflowers were a thing. So all that to say, I have tried this big new trend. What are we talking? We're saying we like it.
In versus out.
Okay. I'm not in with this. I'm out with it. And I've tried it firsthand because I wanted to see what all the rage was about. And I am by no means telling people they're terrible for liking it, but I've tried it and I do not understand people's obsession with it. And it's pickleball. And I would say half of my social world loves it. And I actually tried it in North Carolina 2 months ago, and I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the social around it because the way that these things are built is you can have 10 courts, and they usually have nearby incredible food, or there's also a place to have a drink in between. But I did not understand. I didn't think it was that different than playing tennis. So I guess my thing is I don't understand why people have taken on to pickleball so much more than tennis. Do any of you understand, or do you play?
I don't play pickleball.
I don't play.
Or tennis, so I can't chime in.
So none of you really have a strong reaction.
No. So only listeners are yelling at you that we can't hear. So
Okay, that's fair. And plus that's fine with me because like I said, I tried it and it didn't seem that different. I also am 6'5", so I have a really big wingspan.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do anything that involves a racket and a ball, I'm going to have an advantage because I take up so much
I'd imagine you would win.
Shorter.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't really, I
great.
did not understand the difference between that and tennis.
Were you just as good?
I was just as bad. So yeah. I don't like team sports. I like sports where I can not have anybody else to play with. So
How do you feel about Mahjong? There's another one.
I would really fail at that. I like lifting weights. I like running sometimes.
This is going in a very... I was thinking in versus out, and I was going to name design trends, and you told me
Listen, it
He
doesn't
just
have to
said
work with
trend. He
anything.
said trend.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't specify design.
Yeah.
I will tell you my least favorite design trend in history.
Wait, can I give you my list?
Absolutely.
And then you end with
Well, I
that.
have to
I
know
love
that
everything
one.
about this.
Yeah, we'll end with that.
Okay, go
I'm
for
gonna,
it.
I'm gonna I have a couple written down, and then y'all throw in whichever one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Beige.
In, but fine print because it depends on how it's used. If you use something
Okay.
in the khaki world, I'm all in on it.
Okay. What about pleated lampshades?
In.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Color drenching.
In. I'm always a fan. Yeah. I actually prefer, I say with color drenching, if you don't have interesting trim and you don't have interesting doors and you don't have an interesting ceiling detail, color drenching is an amazing thing to let those not so interesting things fade away. Conversely, if you're in a historic house with the sickest trim and the sickest medallions and you do the color drenching, but you change the finish, it's the most incredible way to highlight something. So I do think I'm a huge fan
He's
of
in.
Yeah. In.
Okay. What about white kitchens?
Oh, no. I have one and I'm remodeling. So I'm going to say out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. I'm just, for the record, naming things that are like popular and have been
loving
popular.
this.
So it's not like setting judgment on anything.
No, I love this
Oh,
list.
no.
I think that we are not going to get in trouble with anybody because we're just talking about trends that are
It's
out
more
there.
like what is coming and what is out there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. Blue and white.
In.
Always.
Always. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. What about mauve?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Ooh, it is by far one of the most used colors in my history of my career, which is bizarre because it's so
Really?
80s.
Most
Yes.
used colors?
Mauve is one of mauve and purple. But when I first started doing houses, I don't know what I did right. Yes, I'm gonna say in. I think it's an unexpected neutral that kind of goes with almost every other color when it's used in moderation. I think the most muted shades of mauve kind of fall almost lavender adjacent, and they're also they can also be gender neutral. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say in on that.
Okay. What about
I think saying the word mauve is not
I
good.
think she's right. Liz just
No.
nailed it. We need to rebrand
I
it.
think it does need a
It needs a new.
rebranding.
It needs a new word.
Mhm.
Lavender shades of lavender.
I feel like lipstick. It's like
It's
a
not bad.
lipstick color.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Yeah, you're kind of right. I can see mauve being a very popular, like Kylie Jenner brand of lipstick.
Yeah.
A mauve colored.
Yeah.
Lipstick.
It's like a nude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. This is really big in Atlanta. White houses with black trim.
Okay. So I understand why they're here. Like I do. And I think they're going to age really well. But there are so many. Like in my neighborhood alone, which
Yeah.
in my neighborhood is mostly mid-century modern houses or new builds where there would be a mid-century that was built that wasn't really done well. It was more like thrown up. And they level it and they build a new build. And all the new builds are the white farmhousey one with the black windows. And the reason that I'm going to say out is because they become time stamped. I think like a lot of the classic architects here in Buckhead who have been doing those for 50, 60 years do it in a way where it could be a 100-year-old house. But there's a very specific look between like 2017 and 2024 that might is kind of what you're talking about. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it depends on the architecture, but I think the majority of them look like they were built in the last 7 to 8 years.
Well, I ask you because you have a black house, and so I wasn't sure like what your thoughts on that would be. That's why.
I am a fan of black and white together. I did one all white house. I did a Scandinavian farmhouse for HGTV Urban Oasis in 2019, and this was in the capital of Minnesota is Minneapolis. I don't know why that just escaped me, but it was this had to be by jury. So that HGTV had to weigh in. I was either going to do it a cod blood red. I want to do colors that were legit to architecture in Scandinavia. So cod blood red was how a lot of the fisher people would paint their fishing cabins because that's all they had access to was the blood from the cod, and it had enough pigment in it where it would turn red. So I pitched that black.
Not very romantic
At
but
all.
Okay.
What about
lovely.
that super popular Benjamin Moore color called Dead Salmon? Have you heard about this? It's like the most popular blush out there. And also when I used to work at HGTV, the connecting street that would bring you to the headquarters was called like Dead Horse Lane. And I'm like, yo, this is some morbid directionals. But my answer was I had done an all-white Scandinavian farmhouse with black trim that really looked like it had been preserved over time. So I think there's a trick to it. But right now I'm going to say out because there's just too much of it.
Yeah. What about scallops? This is my last one.
In. I think that there's a playfulness with scallops, and especially as a girl dad, that they just fit everything, whether it's a pillow or it's even architecture. There's a little bit of fun. It could even go masculine if you go with a darker color.
Yeah.
I think that right now it's kind of all over the place, but I think it is here to stay. It's always been here. I just think it's made it more as the mainstream lately, but I say it's in.
Yeah. Any other?
Those were really good.
No, okay, I'm waiting to hear.
Yeah, what's your what did you say? Your one that you hate?
Your number one hated.
Your number one
always.
Hate. Yeah.
Now he's not going to remember. I told you, Caroline.
Oh my gosh, it's so specific. Okay, so I might be aging myself, but there was this huge thing like between like 2002 and like 2010 where people thought like to answer you, my least favorite thing in interior design is sticks in a vase shoved in a corner. And what I mean by that is there was this very popular time, like I said, 2002 to 2010, where almost every millennial or Gen Xer who had bought their first house had this very specific, there was this major retailer had these sticks that you could go buy. They were like 5 feet tall, and they would stick them into this very specific vase and stick them in corners of rooms. Similar to the trend of bamboo being everywhere, like bamboo, like actual bamboo, lucky bamboo. Remember, like the cut bamboo.
I feel like that was very Trading Spaces.
It was that era. Yeah, it was what 2002 to 2010ish, and every time I go to somebody's house and they were hiring me, they'd have those damn sticks and that damn vase, and the vase came in 3 colors, like mauve, pink, or blue, and I would be like, they all have it. It to the point where it's like a cult. And then it vanished. Like, I don't know, like after 2011 or so, it started to go away. And that's a very, very passionate response because I encountered many sticks in a vase shoved in a corner in my lifetime.
I feel like that turned into the 2010s fiddly fig.
Oh, nailed it. Which now has been replaced with the olive tree, but the faux version, because the olive tree only thrives in Mediterranean environments. But now there's a new one that is an Indian version of the tree. Do you know what it's called? It has this beautiful, this gigantic leaf, but it's perfectly leaf shaped, like that, like symmetrical versus a fiddle leaf, which is kind of asymmetrical. And it has now become
like a ficus.
It is some type of ficus, but it is. I think the word Indian or India is in it, and it's beautiful. I used it once. They're not the most affordable. They're gorgeous, but I think that the fiddle leaf has now been replaced.
Yeah.
I have them in my house still. I still have. They actually, I do like planting them outside as well, fiddle leaf figs, but they did get kind of out of control. Right.
Well, they were just in like every photo shoot. It was clearly like we did it too for sure. It was very much.
I still have them in my
right.
Well, I do too.
Well, yeah,
I finally was able to keep mine alive.
Once you keep it alive, now you're stuck with them. Yeah.
I love that all 4 of us have experience with the fiddle leaf fig tree because it was. I think it was one of those trends that it had a point. Like it's a beautiful like sculptural plant that we all thought we could keep alive and found out quickly we can't. But some people, like, who've kept them alive, those things get huge. Like, I mean,
and the height, they add so much height to a corner.
Yes,
yeah. Like or you could, maybe the stick face will come back.
And they're the perfect green.
Hope not.
They're a really good green shade.
Okay.
You know, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
They had a lot of life. I think that's why we all like them.
Mm-hmm.
What are our thoughts on... Oh, I have one last question. There's another very trendy thing. What are your thoughts on the super popularity of the Italian modernism thing that's been like taken over Pinterest over the past like 6 or 7 years? That very almost everything. There's a lot of scallops. There's a lot of like bald tops on chairs, like BALLED, like bald shapes. Like everything's kind of like the rounded trend.
Oh, like it's kind of 80s.
Yes, but I think a lot of it was taken from Italian modernism, which usually
so like
has a lot of curves.
Super sculptural pieces.
Bulbous is the perfect word. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's time?
How do you feel about bulbous?
I hate that word.
Yeah, I think this will be like it almost. There's this like 80s, like that Memphis movement.
Yeah.
Had like this is like almost a node to it, but Italian maybe. Yeah, it's going to definitely. The rounded furniture is 100% going to be time stamped.
Yeah,
100%.
What a bummer. I agree with you.
Oh, we can all
so
still love it right
but
now.
But it's going to look very 2020.
Yes. In
right?
30 years, you're going to try to hand yours down to somebody and be like, thank you.
I know.
Okay.
There are a few designers who I feel like
that can pull it off.
Do it really well, but
like Nicola Harding
yeah.
uses pieces like that. And she's a British designer and everything is like super layered and feels very traditional. But then she'll throw in something very sculptural and minimal and Italian kind of bulbous shapes and weird geometric things that you just don't know how to make work otherwise unless it's in a loft and sitting there by itself and it is a sculptural piece. But she's able to throw these things in there and it works. It works because there's such a huge, heavy juxtaposition of these two styles of English country cottage plus modern.
Yeah.
So
it's I agree with you. It's really hard to pull it off.
There's folks that can pull it off.
Yeah.
There are folks, but
we did our own version of it in the Oxford house. There is some 80s going on there, but there's not a lot of rounded furniture, except actually the chairs are barrel chairs. But I'm with you. I think that when you take 6 pieces of furniture like that and you put them in an empty loft, it looks complete. Like those 6 pieces of furniture, the minimalism works. But then when you try to put it into a room with kids and dogs, it doesn't really play nicely with others.
It's definitely a varsity move, and don't try it at home.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you on all this.
Yeah.
Professionals have to.
Brian Patrick Flynn, thank you so much. This is a delight, as usual.
I know.
This was really fun.
I cannot wait to see what this gets edited down into, because we went on so many tangents.
Joke's on you. We don't edit. This is live.
Oh, great. Okay, good night, everybody. I'm putting you to sleep with all of my information. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for playing so nicely all this years. It's been a very, very long relationship I've had with Ballard Designs, and I think now that this new chapter has come, where I've had this big part of my career that is now ending, and on a very positive note, I think that it's going to be interesting for me to start doing whatever my next chapter is, especially here in Atlanta, and especially when it comes to product design, which I'm already doing now. But I want to keep things going with you all, because I love the idea of using more and more like updated traditional in these houses that I'm doing, and I love the fact that you are all here and I'm here, and it's all local. It just feels like a great partnership.
Yeah, it's meant to be. Can you tell everyone where they can find you and follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and this is controversial. So when Instagram started, I could not get my handle to be my actual name because there was too many letters at the time. So my handle is at B Patrick Flynn. The B stands for Brian, which is my first name. So when people come up to me in public and they only know me from Instagram, they come up and say, "Hi, Patrick," and I don't know who the hell they're talking about. So the B is for Brian, which is my name, which could not fit into the whole thing. So if you type at B Patrick Flynn on any social media platforms, you'll find me. And just remember, if you meet me in real life, to call me Brian.
Or Brian Patrick Flynn.
Or all three names.
As we've discussed.
Yeah, the 5 syllables flow together nicely too.
All right, well, that's our show.
Bye.
And that's our show. You can find all of the show notes on our blog, howtodecorate.com/podcast.
To send in a decorating dilemma, email your questions to podcast@ballarddesigns.net so we can help you with your space.
And of course, be sure to follow us on social media at Ballard Designs.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Until next time, happy
Happy
decorating.